So what I'm going to do in this video is kind of give us an idea of what it is we're running after this first week of class. You know, the focus is on what we call the modern view of the universe. So it's kind of like we're skipping to the end of the course. And we're giving the big picture of where all the things you're going to learn over the course of the semester have led us. And so this week we're going to focus on some important issues, just trying to get a context that we understand that we can put everything else into as we learn new things throughout the semester. So if I had to say, what's the big goal for this first week? Well, the big goal is very simply, I want us to develop our understanding of various aspects of the universe. I want to talk about the structure of the universe, the size of the universe, how old it is. I wish I had included in this big goal too. You know, we want to talk about how things are moving, and we also are going to engage a discussion of, based on the scientific evidence, what conclusions can we draw as to how things came to be the way they are. So that's the big goal. Now, to achieve these goals, we need to run after some important objectives. In other words, here are some things that I hope you can do by the end of this first week. The first is, I want you to be able to describe the various levels of structure that we find in the universe. The universe is organized. It's got different levels of organization. And I want you just to have a sense of that and be able to talk about that and describe it. We're going to encounter two really important ways that astronomers and astrophysicists measure distance in astronomy. And that includes the astronomical unit and the light year. I want you to understand what those units are, to get a sense of how big they are, and also to explain why these different measures of distance were brought up in the first place. And that will be, I think, in the next video. Now, I also want you to be able to have a sense and be able to discuss the relative sizes of and the distances between objects in the solar system and the universe as a whole. Okay, so now notice we're focusing there on relative sizes. We'll talk about this more, but distances in astronomy and sizes in astronomy are so much larger than things we're familiar with. It's hard for us to grasp what it means to say, you know, Alpha Centauri is 4 light years away from us. But one of the things we can grasp is comparisons. Comparing, say, the distance of the Earth from the Sun to the distance of Neptune from the Sun. Comparing the size of the Sun to the size of the Earth. And so I want you to be able to discuss those things, to get a sense of it, to get grounded in distance. I also want you to be able to explain how scientific evidence supports excuse me, the claim that the universe formed in a Big Bang. That's important. And you know, being able to understand how the scientific evidence leads us backwards in time to this notion that everything began at a point singularity. So we'll talk about that just a little bit this week too. I want you to be able to talk too about the role of stars in the production of, well, really everything that we find in the universe. That's an interesting discussion. The question is, you know, we'll talk about this, but when the universe first formed, it was all pretty much hydrogen. And so that was the first atom that appeared. And so the question is, you know, well, if everything was hydrogen, where do we get all these other elements from? Where did lead come from? I'm going to take a drink of Mountain Dew here because my throat is very dry. All right. So I want to be able to describe the role of stars in the production of the elements in the universe. And finally, describe the relative motions of planets, stars, and galaxies. Now, I want to emphasize, and I'll say this every week probably, that I'm making these teaching videos to help, but they're not going to be enough by themselves. I can't make a video for every single thing in the chapter of a book, you know, and I want you to be sure you're getting into the book. That book is your resource. Like I said elsewhere, it's not something that we gifted to you at Sky. It's something you've paid for, and so you should take advantage of that. And so that's really where we're headed this first week, though. You see the big goal there. Here are the objectives, and hopefully we can enjoy the process, learn some cool stuff, and then be set up next week when we kind of, like I said, step back in time to the ancient times and the formation of astronomy. Okay, so there's your goals. There's your objectives. Make sure you know what we're headed for, and keep these things in mind as we go forward.